Hi, Professor Eaton. My name is Lauren Talmadge, and this is my week's entry. Well, this week's entry, explaining or discussing the initiative and referendum process in Arizona. Um, so first, I'd like to start with, I have notes, so I'm just gonna read from my notes. So today we're exploring two of the most important tools of direct democracy in Arizona: the initiative and the referendum. These processes were built into the state's constitution. Um, over a century ago, and they continue to give everyday Arizonans a powerful voice in shaping state laws. So, what is an initiative? An initiative is the process that allows citizens to propose new laws or even amendments to the Arizona Constitution. Instead of waiting for lawmakers to take action, voters can write a proposal themselves. So, if supporters collect enough valid signatures from registered voters, the proposal is placed directly on the statewide ballot. Then all Arizona voters get to decide whether it becomes law. So I know you discussed that in this week's post. You say you guys get like a book or a ballot, not a ballot necessarily, but like a book with the different proposed, I guess, laws or bills that you would be voting on, which I never have. I live in New Jersey, and I've never even considered that that would like be a thing. Like, oh, people get that. I mean, we get like the ballot slips that tells us who's running essentially, but like, and maybe like a statewide question every now and again, like, oh, do you want certain things to be legalized? Like, are you opposed to it or do you agree with it? Things like that, but like not every single, like we don't get like a booklet of what we're voting on, like, no. So I thought that was pretty progressive, like, and I think it's very informational for voters, because I always say that I have a hard time voting or casting my vote, especially like local elections, because I'm like, okay, so what do you stand for, and what specifically am I voting for, or what all is this gonna do? So I just think that a booklet would be like completely helpful. Like you could browse through it at your leisure, kind of make your decisions before going to vote, and then essentially voting. And then a referendum works differently. Instead of creating a new law, it gives citizens the ability to challenge a law the legislator has already passed. So when the legislator approves a new law, citizens who disagree with it have a 90-day window to collect signatures. If they gather enough, the law is put on hold and placed on the next ballot. The public then decides whether the law should stand, which I also think is pretty cool, because it's like when you don't agree, and I find that about Arizona, the constitution part of it, and like how citizens are included in the process, and kind of like, I don't know, I just think it's pretty cool. I guess you don't really consider how other states do things or the possibilities in certain processes if you don't learn about them. So at first, I was a little like, oh, Arizona law. I live in New Jersey. How is that going to be helpful? But I think it's pretty cool to learn about the way different states do things. All right, so creating an initiative begins with drafting the text of a proposal, law, or amendment. Once the proposal is ready, supporters file it with the Arizona Secretary of State. After the official petition format is approved, signature gathering begins. And then the number of signatures required depends on the type of proposal. So for a state stature, you need 10% of the votes cast in the last governor's race. And then for a constitutional amendment, you need 15%. And if enough signatures are verified, then it's placed on the ballot for voters to decide. Referendums, they start when the legislator passes a new law. So if you don't agree with it, or if enough people don't agree with it, they have 90 days after the session ends to gather their signatures. They need 5% of the vote, 5% of the votes in the last governor's race to get it approved. And if they meet that threshold, then the law is suspended and cannot take effect unless voters approve of it in the next election. So initiatives allow voters to create new laws. Referendums allows voters to block or overturn laws that the legislator kind of like puts in place. So initiatives require more signatures and have no strict deadline, while referendums have lower signature requirements but a tight timeline. Initiatives are proactive and referendums are more like reactive. So before it even happens, initiatives, hence the word initiate, well, the root word initiate, the initiatives are kind of like, not kind of like, but it's like, all right, so we'll be active in the creation of laws. Referendums are like, we don't like that. So, T for time, we're going to regroup. We can see if we come to maybe like a compromise or, just do away with it completely, especially if they get enough support behind it. And then as far as pros and cons, so I like to start like with the bad news first. So the cons of initiatives is that they can be expensive and heavily influenced by large interest groups, which just in politics in general can be problematic because it favors one group or one section of people or just whatever that one choice is over others, and money talks. And because initiatives are often complex, voters may not always understand every detail. So something that may look great or maybe presented a certain kind of way, like you may want to sign, or it may get enough signatures, but maybe the ramifications of it aren't completely understood. So although it is helpful to have the participation of voters and of citizens, they have to be informed though. Like they have to understand like how that actually affects their day to day or affects their lives or even affects their future. So it does have to be um an educated initiative, if that makes sense. Like it definitely has to be researched and it has to have some basis of how it will actually help Arizonans. And then the pros, though, they empower citizens to act when lawmakers won't, and also to act in their best interest or what they believe their best interest to be. And then they encourage innovation and invite like public participation. So I just to be able to know that potentially something that you believe in or something that a group of people believe in could and can be impressionable in their state, that they can create laws to help themselves, I think is like a really cool pro. So going to referendums, the cons is that the short signature gathering window makes organizing difficult. Like 90 days in like theory seems like a extensive amount of time or like a long enough time period, but in actuality it goes really quickly, especially like in things like trying to gather support behind a topic or an issue or a law that you don't agree with. And suspending a law can create uncertainty until voters weigh in. So you kind of like leave people in limbo, and it's like, well, we don't really know if what to do or how to move forward. So that could be a con, especially like because our world is ever changing and fast paced. So it's like sometimes that period of uncertainty or not completely understanding what to do next or how to diffuse or get rid of the law and what to put in its place, sometimes that can be confusing, which also goes back into being educated in decision making and participation, right? So pros, so they're definitely like a checks and balances of the legislative power. It also helps to make sure that controversial laws can be reviewed by the public. So to me, I live in New Jersey, right? All types of things happen, they go on, and I don't really, not to say that I am the most politically involved, like as far as like organizing, like I know what's going on, but like in terms of maybe fighting against laws that are passed, I'm not really the most versed, ashamedly admitting that I'm not the most versed in like how we would kind of like veto in a way, like what referendums do, laws in New Jersey. But I do think that that it is it's it's a positive. Like, it's definitely a benefit to be able to even just check the powers. Sometimes like something may pass and it's like, hold up, like let's dial that back a bit and let's look at all the pieces to it. So you don't have to agree just for agreeing's sake. You can definitely, well, Arizonans can definitely use the power of the referendum to kind of like say that may not be beneficial for people on whole, or that may not be beneficial for our state, that might not be a beneficial practice, and I guess create ways to either replace it or to get rid of it altogether. Both processes reflect the progressive era vision that shaped the Arizona Constitution. Article 4 specifically reserves these powers to the people, so ensuring that citizens remain at the center of lawmaking, that they're involved and hopefully educated about what's going on, how to either create new ones with initiatives or get rid of ones that they don't agree with, right, with referendums. So initiatives and referendums keep political power grounded. Um, and it's like almost like they answer to their citizens, which is cool. So they allow Arizonans to propose ideas, challenge decisions, and ultimately shape the direction of the state. Cool. So that's why the initiative and referendum remain so important today. They're not just political, they're expressions of how Arizona's citizens participate in their government, can participate in their lawmaking processes, and direct democracy. Like the how Arizona commits that back, like has that commitment to its citizens. So the citizens have that power, and then the state also gives that power to its citizens. Okay, so thanks for watching. I do enjoy your videos weekly. I watch the whole thing. I'm a geek like that. But I do appreciate, like, I guess it puts a more personable aspect on it. So that's what I was going for with my video. I didn't do another take. This is it. So I hope that clearly explains how these processes work and why they matter. Thanks. Have a great one.